Hello and welcome to another video lesson with Mr. Panza. Today we're going to try and find out how we can compare decimals, and this includes decimals that don't exactly line up with regards to place values. There are some simple steps that you can follow to compare decimals and get answers correct each time. Let me show them to you. When I'm comparing decimals, I need to think of these alligators: greater than, less than, or equal to. You're trying to compare one number to another number. To do that, follow these 4 steps and get the answer right every time. Step 1 is to write the numbers on top of each other. So for example, you normally see 2 numbers that are lined up like this. Is 4/10 greater than, less than, or equal to 7/100? So step 1 tells me to take 4/10 in my place value chart and then line it up with the other and put them on top of each other. Sometimes students will just put them on top of each other like this, but that's addressed in step 2, which actually, if you remember from our previous lessons, it's the same steps when you are adding or subtracting decimals. You need to follow step 2 and step 3.
Line up the decimals, fill in the holes with zeros.
That will make the comparison
matchy, matchy.
which is exactly what you're looking for. So you need to line up these decimal points and then fill in the holes with zeros. So in this case, if you started out with a place value chart, it starts with ones on both sides. Then, if you're talking about decimal place value style, it starts with and, then the tenths, then the hundredths. Starts with and, then the tenths, then the hundredths. So after you've lined up the decimal points and you know that the ones category is lined up with the ones, the tenths is lined up with the tenths, and the hundredths are lined up with the hundredths, you're ready to fill in the holes with zeros. So in this case, there's only one hole to fill, and that's right here. In 4/10, you need to place a 0 in your place value chart, which also shows you that 4/10 is equivalent to 40/100. And that's great in this case because now you can clearly see when you compare 40/100 to 7/100, think about it in money. Would you rather have 40 cents or just 7 cents? Clearly, you want the higher number, which is 4/10. Even though that 4 is in the tenths place value, it's actually closer to the whole number, which makes it a larger number, which in this case makes it the largest number. And in comparing these two numbers, 4/10 or 40/100 is larger than 7/100. Let's practice a couple more. Now I'm going to pull down the different box, whether it's less than, greater than, or equal to, depending on whatever I pull out from behind this gator box here. So here's my first example. I have 33/100. How do I know? Because both of these 3's end up in the hundredths place value, the second one, compared to 4/10. Let's pull out our place value chart. I have my place value chart here, and we all know that step 1 is to write the numbers on top of each other. Well, really, that means set up your place value charts. Before you even start writing numbers, understand where your place values are. In this case, I'm going to use blue. I know that there's a decimal point here and a decimal point here, which separates my whole numbers from my decimals or fractions, pieces, parts. So it starts with and, then the tenths, then the hundredths. On a whiteboard, on a scrap piece of paper, you can draw the decimal point, then a line to represent the tenths, and a line to represent the hundredths, and you're good to compare these numbers. But just in case you want to see, remember your place value song for whole numbers. It starts with ones, so over here you also have a place value in the ones. And now you just need to drag these numbers into the appropriate place values by following steps 2 and steps 3. Line up the decimal, fill in the holes with zeros to make sure that these two numbers are
Matchy, matchy.
which in this case, as long as you line up those decimals, you'll be in good shape. Here's my decimal and a 4 in the tenths. Here's my decimal and 3 in the tenths and 3 in the hundredths. Notice how you could have just written these on your own scrap piece of paper. You have your own place value charts that you can create. Now that I fill in the hole with a 0, there's only one hole right here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in that hole with a 0. I'm now comparing 40 to 33, 40/100 to 33/100. You only want to compare hundredths to hundredths and tenths to tenths and whole numbers to whole numbers. And as you go further from right to left on the place value chart, it gets larger. So you actually should start all the way over here. 0 compares to 0, that's equal. But 4 is larger than 3, you're done. This 4/10 is the biggest number. So in this example, I can then rewrite my numbers, saying 4/10 is going to be eaten by this alligator because it's greater than, go ahead and move that over so you can still see it, 33/100. 4/10 is greater than 33/100. This alligator wants to eat the greater number. He feels so much better. I hope this helps. Check out future videos to see how you can use similar steps and solve these types of problems.